My name's Jim Lauderdale, and it's great to be here in this beautiful, hallowed place. And so I'm going to kick things off with a song. There's kind of a theme, Come Here, North Carolina. And I wrote this song with a Carolina treasure, the great Cy Kahn. When I want a biscuit to put into my mouth, no matter how it comes from Carolina, north or south, no matter where it's been or how it came to be, Kakalaki always sounds like home sweet home to me. Kakalaki, nothing's finer if you ask me. Kakalaki got it all, ain't nothing lacking. Kakalaki, don't stay away by Cracky. Come see what's going on in Kakalaki. You've all heard that song about the cluck old hen and how that hen ain't cackled since good Lord knows when. Chicken's got a beak and rooster's got a comb. Ain't nothing finer than my Kakalaki home. Kakalaki, nothing's finer if you ask me. Kakalaki, can see it all by Cracky. Kakalaki, no, nothing lacking. Come see what's going on in Kakalaki. Come see what's going on, Kakalaki. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, you're going to hear some songs and stories tonight about moonshine and race cars. But we are encouraging you, though, to drink and drive safely, okay? We're not encouraging the other thing. Now, we've got some folks to kick off things, some great folks, and I think you might know them. We've got Sheila K. Adams, Donna Ray Norton, William Ritter, and Melanie Price. Let's hear it for them. Welcome.
Well, howdy. It gets better from there, I promise. I'm just old. It takes me a while to get settled in here. But I'm Sheila K. Adams, and I was born and raised in Madison County, and I still live there. Born in March of 1953. And in the late 60s, I hauled moonshine from Madison County into East Tennessee for the best liquor maker in Madison County by the name of Jeter Buckner. God bless his soul. Because he taught me a lot of things. Jeter taught me, for one, that you do not drink the product of which you're hauling. Ever. And he would give me a $20 bill for every run I made out to Rogersville, Tennessee, and Greenville, Tennessee, Maryville, Tennessee, Johnson City, Tennessee. And a $20 bill was like a full bed sheet back in the day, in 1969. The other thing that I would like to tell my niece Sonia Wallace, who is here, my nephew-in-law, Tim Wallace, Rusty Wallace's crowd, and Alex and Bryce, and my beloved grandson, Ezra Ray Penland.
Adams Penland.
Well, that's true. They hung the Adams in there so they wouldn't piss me off. That's what they did. And
No, that's right.
right. And so I would like to tell them that the sheriff in Madison County at the time was E.Y. Ponder. And that was indeed the Ponder machine in Madison County that started voting Democrat instead of Republican in the early 60s because they changed over. And E.Y. Ponder said, I sat in a dark room for days with the door closed, rubbing my hand around that still that we busted up on your daddy's property. And I figured out that your daddy was the only one that could weld a seam on a still that I could not feel. And that would have been Irvin Adams, my daddy. And that would have been my grandson's great-grandfather. This is my daughter, Melanie, right over here.
If you can't tell already.
Right? I look in the mirror sometimes and it scares me to death because it's like looking...
Not as much as it scares me.
I know. Because she looks exactly the way I looked when I was her age. This is my cousin, Donna Ray, and this over here is the grandson of my heart, William Ritter. And we are going to do a wonderful program for y'all tonight, singing some of the old songs about moonshine and other things. But the main thing is, Jeter Buckner has passed away. He's no longer with us. A lot of the great moonshiners are no longer with us. And the one thing he always told me is, you do the best you can with the jacks on the back of your car. And my daddy had a 1967 white Dodge Charger that lit up across the back end of it. All of it. And we used to go over into Tennessee, and I would be hauling 4 crates of 4 times 4 is 16 gallons of moonshine. And I never got stopped one time, because who is going to suspect that a 16-year-old girl just going to the drive-in theater over in Greenville, Tennessee would be hauling moonshine? But I certainly did. And then they decided that I was going to be the first woman, well, female anyway, I wasn't quite a woman at 17, but they decided that I could drive well enough to get into NASCAR. And so they had me run the tracks over at Rogersville, Tennessee, and in Kingsport, Tennessee, and in Maryville, Tennessee. And there wasn't nobody that outrun me the whole time. And I also would drag race with anybody from the bottom of Granny Hips Mountain all the way out to Dr. Bottomley's office. He was our dentist, by the way. All the way from the bottom of Granny Hips Mountain out to Dr. Bottomley's office. And I didn't get beat a single time, even by the old boy that had a Corvette Stingray, because I outran him in my daddy's Dodge Charger.
And then you wonder what happened. Why didn't you become a NASCAR driver, Mom?
She happened.
So something caught up with her, y'all.
Yeah. Because I pretty much, in my life at 71 years old, I have done exactly what I wanted to do. I have lived my life exactly the way I wanted to live it. And that's what I would encourage you to tell your grandchildren. Ezra Ray, you be the damn best welder
Yeah.
that you
welder,
can
yeah.
possibly be.
Yeah.
Because that's what my daddy, Irvin Adams, would have wanted for you. So everybody give my grandson, Ezra Ray, a big
Look at his face.
applause. Because the one
You're
thing
gonna
that I
make him not
learned,
ever come to these things again.
that's
Y'all
all
can't
right.
tell he don't normally come to these.
Because Ezra Ray has been the light of my life since his birth. And that's exactly the way my daddy, Irvin Adams, would have wanted it. But the thing that Jeter Buck said to me was, you can never tell your daddy that you ran moonshine for me, because I will have to kill him. He meant it, because he knew that my daddy would kill him if he didn't. So I'm going to sing. Now, this song that I'm going to sing is just one that I learned from Inez Chandler. She referred to herself as being a double-barrel Chandler, because she was a Chandler that married a Chandler, which is not uncommon in Madison County, where we do not have family trees. By God, we got family wreaths that go around and around and around and around.
I like a rhododendron thicket.
Nope. It's a big wreath that goes around and around and around. And I appreciate every single one of you for coming. And I learned this song when I was 14 years old. I'm one of those people that could... How many of you have ever seen a movie called Songcatcher? Well, I was the voice coach and the singing coach for that movie, because they wanted it to sound authentic, and it did.
It did.
Till she started talking. And
Nobody can get it right.
And she was from New York, so she didn't quite cut the talking. But she did well on the singing, because she was an opera child prodigy. So, but this is one that Inez Chandler taught me, and it's just whatever goes through your mind, I can't help. But I do want you to know that Ronald Gunner taught me how to play guitar, and Jeter Buckner taught me how to drive a car. And I can still drive a car. My son made the mistake one time of saying, I will race you out of Sodom, which is where I grew up, a little place called Sodom in Madison County. And he said, I will race you out of Sodom and I will beat you. And I said, how much money you got on you? And he said, $50. And I said, all right, I'll take you up on it. And I was sitting at the house with a beer in my hand by the time he got home. Because when you are the best, nobody can challenge that. And this is the first song that Inez Chandler ever taught me. And whatever goes through your mind, well, if you go to counseling, you might want to talk to your counselor about it. Mm-hmm. There was an old farmer who lived by the sea, and a merry old farmer was he. He had a fair maiden who laid on the grass, and every time she turned over, she'd show her fair ruffles and tuffles as slick as a duck. She taught that old farmer a new way to bring up the children and teach them to knit, while the servants in the barnyard were shoveling out contents of the barnyard as slick as glass. If you don't like my story, you can just kiss my daughter in the parlor who winds up the clock with a piece of red ribbon tied all around her poodle dogger, poodle dogger, poodle dog galore. If you don't like my story, I'll tell it no more. Thank you. Who's it gonna
I guess I can.
You want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Or William, you want to go next?
We know who's in charge around here.
Yeah, I
You
know.
just tell us what to
All
do.
right, William.
All right. This is an old song that I
You need to
learned
lean
from-
in that microphone.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit. It'll probably catch up if I just keep talking. I learned this from Bruce Green. It's well, you'll hear it. You'll figure it out. I've been a moonshiner for 17 old years, and I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. I'll go to some holler and drink with my friends, and there's no one to bother me or watch what I spend. I'm a rambler or a gambler, and I'm a long way from home. And them that don't like me, they can leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry and drink when I'm dry. And if moonshine don't kill me, I'll live till I die. And I'll go to some grocery and I'll drink with my friends. And there's no one to bother me or watch what I spend. God bless them pretty women. I wish they was mine. Their breath smells as sweet as the dew on the vine. Thank you.
Me? Yes, ma'am. He don't talk much, does he?
Well, we used to call him the rooster in the hen house, and then it was, then he was like, well, maybe I'm the fox in the
Fox
hen
in the
house.
hen house.
And I was like, maybe you're the rooster in the fox house.
It's that one.
So now he's the rooster in the fox house.
That's right.
Well, so we've been singing these old songs. They've been passed down in our family now for 9 generations. My daughter has started singing. She's 21. She occasionally does. But Ezra, I feel your pain just a few minutes ago if you were embarrassed in any way whatsoever, because I was that kid a long time ago.
He ain't embarrassed.
So
He's mine.
That's right, I know. But when I was in the 2nd grade, my mom and Sheila were both teachers at the school that I went to, and they would come and do programs there. And Hart and Andrew would sometimes be there with me, and they would always call us out. But we were little, and we were always like, please. But one of the songs I remember Sheila singing at one of those shows was one of the songs I'm going to sing for you guys tonight. But I also remember my grandfather Morris singing it. But so we do this ballad swap at the Old Marshall Jail Hotel the 2nd Wednesday of every month, and it's the only recurring ballad swap that we're aware of anywhere, probably in the country or in our state for sure that we know of. But so we were talking about the very first ballad that we learned, and the first ballad that I learned, like ballad love song, was called Young Emily. And I learned it from Sheila, who was helping with the movie Songcatcher. And she came into my bedroom one summer morning and threw this big book on my bed. And was like, Donna Ray, get up. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, I'm helping these people from Hollywood with learn how to talk like us and sing these old love songs like us. And they're looking for an authentic country girl to play the part of Delatus in this film. And I said, look no further. I know just the girl. I'll have her. I'll bring her over here. And she said, you're going to learn this script. I'm going to teach you the ballad Young Emily, and we're going to Hollywood. And I said, yes, ma'am. So she taught me the ballad Young Emily, and I got beat out by that lovely opera singer from New York for the role of Delatus.
Emmy Rossum.
Emmy Rossum, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I thought
An authentic
authentic
Appalachian
country girl.
country girl.
And so, so I learned that song, but the very first song that I actually learned and sung on stage was a song called Four Nights Drunk. And there's actually 7 nights, but we're not allowed to sing them in mixed company. So I'm just going to sing y'all 4 of those.
Use your imagination on the last
yeah,
three
you-
Or don't.
verses.
Or do. It'll
No,
be a good time.
do use your imagination on
Maybe
the
if you've had a
last
little moonshine, you might be able to imagine a little bit better. So this is Four Nights Drunk, and my Pat Morris used to sing it. And I remember Sheila singing it when I was in the 2nd grade at my school. I came home the other night as drunk as I could be, and I saw a horse in the stable where mine ought to be. Said, come here, little wifey, explain this thing to me. Now why's a horse here in the stable where mine ought to be? Well, you blind fool, you drunk old fool, now can't you plainly see? That's only a milk cow your granny sent to me. Well, I've traveled this whole world over 100 times or more, but a saddle on a milk cow I ain't never seen before. I came home the other night as drunk as I could be, and I saw a hat there hanging on the rack where mine ought to be. Said, come here, little wifey, explain this thing to me. Now why's a hat here hanging on the rack where mine ought to be? Well, you blind fool, you drunk old fool, now can't you plainly see? That's only a dish rag your granny sent to me. Well, I've traveled this whole world over 200 times or more, but a J.B. Stetson dish rag I ain't never seen before. I came home the other night as drunk as I could be, and I saw a pair of breeches laying on the floor where mine ought to be. Said, come here, little wifey, explain this thing to me. Now why's the breeches laying on the floor where mine ought to be? Well, you blind fool, you drunk old fool, now can't you plainly see? That's only a flour sack your granny sent to me. Yeah, flour sack.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I've traveled this whole world over 300 times or more, but a zipper on a flour sack I ain't never seen before. I came home the other night as drunk as I could be, and I saw a head there laying on the pillar where mine ought to be. I said, come here, little wifey, explain this thing to me. Now why's there a head here laying on this pillar where mine ought to be? Well, you blind fool, you drunk old fool, now can't you plainly see? That's only a cabbage head your granny sent to me. Well, I've traveled this whole world over 10,000 times or more, but a mustache on a cabbage head I ain't never seen before. 4 Nights Drunk.
There you go.
I think a zipper on a flour sack seems pretty reasonable.
A zipper on a flour sack.
I haven't
Maybe
seen
mentioned
that,
I
but
mean, but the flour would come out.
The flour
Well,
would come out of the zipper.
Well, it definitely gives it a time. It used to, the way Bobby McMillan sang it was a bed quilt on the floor and buttons on a belt quilt.
Y'all said a chamber pot, not a dish
Chamber
rag.
pot, yeah.
Right,
That's
John
true.
B.
A chamber
Stetson
pot,
chamber
not a
pot.
what? Stetson.
Or
Right.
a dish rag.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
a John B. Stetson chamber pot. I've
Yeah,
never seen
J.B.
before.
Stetson.
Although he said
I like
Stetson.
that John B. Stetson chamber pot. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's the beautiful thing about a lot of these old songs. They're so old, and they were shared, person to person, not so much as much written down, that you have all these great different variations on how to sing them. But
And my family has got the longest running tradition of passing down of traditional ballads in the United States. And I reckon we're going to close out with my dear daughter over there singing one.
We're not doing drunken hiccups?
Oh.
Nope.
No
We're go-
drunken hiccups.
No drunken hiccups
Time
tonight.
for one more, two more, one more, two more.
One more,
One more. That's me.
and that would be Melanie.
Well, I actually considered singing a different song.
Nah, I think y'all do that.
You got to do what the boss says, y'all.
Yep.
But Mom was like, that's a little serious for NASCAR, moonshine, motorsports, and all that.
I mean,
like,
who wants to hear about death and dying when
I mean,
you're
it was a
in NASCAR,
conversation
you
with
know?
death. I was like, what's so bad about it? I don't know. So,
Inappropriate.
so I decided to do a song that I have been singing on stage most of my life. I've been singing on stage since I was 3, clogging since I was 4, and singing professionally since I was 8. That means they pay you money.
I think she made the, bed sheet $20.
Right. Oh, sure. I was like, wow. I think it was $50.
No, it wasn't. It's 20.
Okay, whatever. It felt like 50. And I was singing on stage at the Basketball Lunsford Festival, and I sang Jerusalem Mourn. And at one point, it talks about a Catholic priest. And I say, there's a Catholic preacher. And Mom goes, priest. Like as deadpan as you've ever heard. And I'm like, what? And she goes, priest. It's a Catholic priest. I was like, you mean they don't have preachers? And she was like, no, they have priests. I was like, okay, I'll sing the rest of the song.
I was raised Southern Baptist and Catholic.
Me too.
So my parents were like 60s hippies, and I wasn't born. I didn't really go to church. But anyway, so
Had no idea.
I had no idea about the whole preaching thing. So you can sing along with this one as well. The chorus goes, don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Feel free to join in.
You'll figure it out.
It's kind of like a equally makes fun of religions that you find across the South, but we have been adding to it for many years. So you see if you can figure out which ones are the new ones.
Only by members of people who belong to that religion.
That's right. There's a Baptist preacher, you can tell him by his coat. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Bottle of shine in his pocket that he can't hardly tote. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, them Presbyterians now, they're so proud. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, their necks so stiff that they can't hardly bow. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, them Methodist preachers, don't you know? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? That they never let a rooster get big enough to crow. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, them holy rollers, they're all right. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? While they'll roll, they'll tumble, they'll kick out the lights. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, them Catholic priests, he'll jingle his bell. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, he'll take $10 and pray out a purgatory. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul's sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Well, them free will Baptists I like to have forgot. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Why they have to get saved every other day. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's
that's a singing in my soul, and my soul sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Well, them TV evangelists, what can I say?
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
They're a raking in the money and a rolling in the hay.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Well, Episcopalians now, they come equipped.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
When you've got 2 or 3, you're bound to have a fifth.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Now them Southern Baptist ma'ams sitting in the pew.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Only God can judge them, but they're a judging you.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Last time.
Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn? Thank God there's a song that's a singing in my soul, and my soul sought free. Don't you hear Jerusalem mourn?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. One more. That's all you, William.
William, William, William.
Sheila says, do the drunken hiccup, so here it is.
Yeah, we fussed at him about that all day. He was like, I want to sing something else, so hooray.
I heard Tommy Gerald, a great fiddle player from Mount Airy, North Carolina, do this song, and he swore by it, literally, and it's a great song. The Drunken Hiccups.
Well, I played cards in England and I gambled in Spain. Going back to Carolina, played my last game. Drunken hiccups, how bad I do feel. Drunken hiccups, how bad I do feel. Sure. I thought you were gonna sing. With the river, whiskey, and I was a duck. I dived down to the bottom, never come up. But the river ain't whiskey, and I ain't no duck. Gonna play these drunken hiccups and trust to my luck. Here they come. Well, my wife, she goes ragged and she ain't got no shoes. We could all go naked long as I get my booze. Poor drunkard, how bad I do feel. Poor drunkard, how drunkard I feel. Gonna beat on the counter, gonna make the grass rain. More brandy to bring. Drunken hiccups, how bad I do feel. Drunkard, poor drunkard, how bad Thank you.
Y'all just have to understand how hard it is to sing and play the fiddle at the same time.
I mean, it's kind of hard to play the fiddle all
Let's hear it again for Sheila K. Adams, Donna Ray Norton, William Ritter, and Melanie Price. Let's hear it for them. Now, as our next act is getting settled in, when I was a kid living here in Charlotte from ages 15 to 13, there was a movie theater that had the world premiere of the movie Speedway in 1968. Can anybody tell me that theater in Charlotte that had the world premiere of that Elvis movie, Speedway? It was next to a Chinese restaurant called the House of Young. If that helps refresh your memory, there's a prize if somebody can tell me the name of that movie theater. And there was a shopping center right there too, across the street from the Center Theater? The Manor. The Manor Theater. I saw many movies there for 50 cents. And, well, you get a free CD of mine then after the show. Now, thank you, the Manor Theater. What was the name of the shopping center? Do you remember? I can't remember either. Park Place. Okay. Yes, there was and there was a shoe repair place there. I remember that, and I believe a record store and some other places. Now, I just want to, in this wonderful place here, so just want to remind you there's a bar over there. The restrooms are back there. And if you want to get your spark plugs changed, go over there to that area. All right, now, I believe they're getting warmed up and ready to go, and I want them to start sauntering out here. If you're out there, the Kruger brothers, come on up. Now, these gentlemen are hailing from a place where Junior Johnson, the great race car driver, lived, and where there was a lot of moonshine running, and I'm talking about Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And I'll tell you what, these guys, and they'll be telling you more about themselves as the show goes on, but they're just amazing musicians, and they're getting ready to go. I asked them if they were going to be at IBMA next week in Raleigh, and they said, no, we're going to Europe. And they've got some very special shows coming up they'll tell you about. But I just love these guys so much, and if you've never seen them, you're going to be blown away. But here's the Kruger brothers.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to be here. What an interesting place, isn't it? I have never been here. I never even knew something like that existed. When I first came in here, it looked like, you know, the hall of Man in Black where all the aliens meet.
It's kind of like what's happening today. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. No, we're very...
It's so great to have Jim around. You know, I used to run workshops over in Switzerland in a singer-songwriter festival back in the 80s. And I think Jim was there, I think, in 89. And I did a workshop with him. Nobody spoke English. I had to ask all the questions and translate and do all things. And we got to play. And Jim said, Uwe, you have to come over to America. I said, well, I'm good here. Never knew I was coming over here. In '97, when we first played Merlefest, I get out of the van backstage at Merlefest, and there's Jim Lauderdale. And he looks at me. We hadn't seen each other in 10 years. And then he looks at me and says, oh, Uwe, you made it. It was the best welcome ever.
Yeah. So, as Jim said, we live in Wilkes County. We moved there 21 years ago, after playing a numerous of years, playing tours through the U.S. And we decided North Carolina is our favorite place. And of course, Wilkesboro, beautiful place up there. Right before the pandemic, I got asked to write a piece for Wilkes County by the town, and friends of towns, and so I thought, well, moonshining would be a good subject, and I called the piece the Moonshine Sonata. So it's written with string quartet, and we have Jonah Horton here.
Playing the part of the quartet.
Playing the part of the quartet now. He's playing along. So so it's a lot of fun. We're going to play you a little selection of it. Not everything, but
we also have Jody Call up here, and Jody's also from Wilkesboro, and he's part of the old Call family, and they I think they got most of their fortunes from farming.
Agriculture.
So here we go. We start off with the first piece called "Run With It." People decide, they go for it and they do it, and it starts off, it has these parts, of an old rusty car starting, and then we have a part that's a little faster, and then it's sort of run with it. And that's the first little part. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. When I live on the land that used to be owned by the Call family. They all split up, and it was thousands of acres, and I live on the place where Andersons then lived. And there's also, parts of old stills, laying around in the woods, and people would go out, of course, in the night, and see if they, meet up with their friends. And this is a little piece I wrote. It's called Moon Seekers. It's about people going out in the moonshine, and so it's a little mysterious.
Ghosts.
1, 2, 3. So when the parts, of the stills that are laying around in the back of my land, or over to Jody's place, they're pretty destroyed, and I always wondered, why are they so destroyed? And I learned, that they hunted them down with hound dogs and dynamite. They would find the still and then blow it up. Pretty violent. Here's a song. It's called Darling Corey. I get out my mean banjos and see how low this is. It sounds like it's coming from another time. Two, three, four.
Dig a hole in the meadow. Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. Dig a hole in the meadow. I'm gonna lay darling Corey down. Oh, the first time I saw my little Corey, she was standing by the banks of the sea with a 44 pistol around her, a banjo on her knee. Dig a hole in the meadow. Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. Dig a hole in the meadow. I'm gonna lay darling Corey down. Wake up, darling Corey. What makes you sleep so sound? Revenue officers are calling. They gonna tear your stillhouse down. Oh, dig a hole in the meadow. Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. Dig a hole in the meadow. I'm gonna lay darling Corey. Oh, the last time I saw my little Corey, she held a dram glass in her hand. She was drinking away all her sorrow, courting some other man. Oh, dig a hole in the meadow. Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. Dig a hole in the meadow. I'm gonna lay darling Corey down. Dig a hole in the meadow. I'm gonna lay darling Corey down.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, that entire moonshining business, a lot of people were torn. When I started reading up in Switzerland, where we're from, moonshining is sort of legal. It depends. It depends on the amount of cows you have.
A big farm in Switzerland, or a big ranch, would be 20 cows. You know, it's a really tiny little place.
So they have
So when
20,
you-
30, 35 cows or something. But you can make about 1 to 2 gallons of legal liquor. But you cannot make alcohol out of sugar. That's prohibited. You have to make it out of fruits. So you have to, but because you can't run a farm without alcohol, because you need for disinfectants, we need all kinds of purposes.
Yes.
Anyway, you get the point. So when we were kids, we would go to the farms and and be there, when they burn all the liquor. So that was actually fun, because you always get a taste of it, and the old folks get a kick out of us.
So that's why I ended up with a guitar instead of an accordion.
But of course, you know, there's always people, you know, borrowing cows to each other, you know. Lending cows to each other, you know.
Like a cow
It's
library.
like all of a sudden, you know, everybody had 35 cows, you know. And so that was rather interesting. But of course, you know, when I read up on these stories in Wilkes County and everywhere, you know, I mean, I don't think there's a county in North Carolina or Virginia, for that matter, in fact, you know, that would not at one point have claimed to be moonshine capital of the world, you know. But for Wilkes County, I'm sure there's a lot of truth to it, you know, at one point. They said there were always around 250 stills burning at all times, you know, somewhere.
Well, you know, a couple of years ago when we went to Switzerland and we had a Swiss distiller actually make some moonshine after a Call family recipe.
Yes.
And we played in a really ritzy place. Like imagine we play right next to the White House in Washington. That was like the equivalent in Switzerland. We played right next to the Parliament in a really ritzy bar where people are used to drink $1,000 bottles of wine and the most distinguished whiskeys in the world. And we left these little bottles of moonshine on their tables.
Little mini mason jars.
Yes, and at one point we told them all to open it up and have a sip on it. And
Yes,
I've
and
never
of course-
I've never seen faces like that before.
And of course, we left it uncut, you know, 170 proof.
So that was a lot of fun, you know, because it's just, you know, it's a culture shock.
It's like it's like a derailing of face, you know, lines. Anyway, but
Wonderful.
I read up, you know, there was a lot of torment, you know, in people's, you know, conscience. You know, they didn't really know if it was right or wrong what they did. You know, I mean, they knew that it was against the law, but they did it, you know, to support their families and dreaming of a better world, you know, and making an extra dollar. And so this is about a man that dreams that, you know, he's pacing around the living room, his family's asleep, and he's about to go out with his friends. So that's the picture. And one, two. Thank you. I sit on my porch every night when I'm home, and I have little raccoons that come and listen to me play. I play out there at night, and they come to listen to me play, or maybe it's the food I put out for them. I don't know. But But when we first moved to North Carolina, I had a friend of ours, he said, okay, tomorrow I show. It was night when we came, we came here in Charlotte at night. And it was 1997. And then next morning he said, tomorrow we drive up to the mountains. I said, oh, wow, that's exciting. We're from the Alps. And so I said, wow, I can't wait to see the mountains. So we were driving for about an hour, and I said, where are the Alps? Where are the mountains? And he says, we are in the mountains. And I said, you don't like it? I said, I love it. I mean, if this is the mountains, people can live everywhere in your mountains. See, in our mountains, people can't live. It's already, last week we had already the first snow. So we grew up shoveling snow. And you don't have the, it's beautiful. The country here is unbelievable. So if people came from Europe and they first came here, your ancestors, when they first came here and they got to see the vastness of this country, the trees, these hills, and everything is inhabitable. You can live there, and you can live your life. And I imagined with all these chestnut trees that used to be, in these mountains, by the billions, which would make all the woods today look like scrub, with an acre span of roof. How the music would have sounded when people would have sung or played a violin, and that was so different from where we were from. So I thought I want to make a little piece of music sort of that reminds of these hills. We were first exposed when we were kids, in the 60s. In the 60s, we were exposed to this kind of music, old-time music from North Carolina and Virginia, by Doc Watson and Clarence Ashley and all these people, because they were, fantastic people who loved the music so much that they recorded it, and that gave us access to it, and they would sometimes let it run on the radio for the U.S. Forces Network radio, in Germany. And we would, get that loud and clear where we were, and underneath the bed cover, we'd listen to radio and listen to Flatt and Scruggs and Doc Watson and Chet Atkins. And we imagined, this nature, because the music is so close to nature. There's so many things that are so just detached from nature. And when I sit on the porch and I play and these little animals come out of the woods, I feel like I'm part of them, not they're part of me, And so here's a little piece.
thought we're going to be in Italy next weekend. We're going to play another Hall of Fame over there. We're going to be in Cremona, which is where they invented the modern violin 500 years ago. And we're going to play in that hall right next to the Violin Museum. That's part of the violin.
Antonio Stradivari Museum.
Yes. So I think Jens is going to play a bluegrass tarantella that he wrote for this, for the Moonshine Sonata. This is like a beautiful little tune where we get to play some
because because it has a little Bach-esque sort of idea about it, and because I wrote it because I called it the sermon, because I read the story of this preacher in Wilkes County that was preaching against moonshining and NASCAR driving and everything, and then it turned out he was one of the biggest moonshiners. Not that would be true for all preachers, but it just was a very intriguing story because he was a big guy. Don't mess with him. And so,
moonshine. When we gave that moonshine to those people in Switzerland a couple of years ago, after the show, somebody came to me and said, "Well, but that was way in the past, right? It's not like that anymore." And then I showed him a newspaper article that was just somebody here from Wilkes County got busted here in Charlotte, and they gave him a big fine. He got busted for 8,000 gallons of moonshine that week.
That's
so,
well, yeah,
we found out, NASCAR is back in Wilkes too. We have the racetrack is running up again, so this is beautiful. Jody's pretty much involved in all that. But the moonshine is still there too, I think. And the thing is that when you come from Europe, sometimes things are a little strange. Like when my two nieces are here, the first time they went to a grocery store, Jens said, "Go pick up some bread," and they were standing in front of the bread aisle, and they looked at it and said, "Where's the bread?" They'd never seen packaged bread in their lives before. And when Krista, my brother's wife, when she went to buy some school supplies, she went to the ABC store.
And they said, "Lady, we believe you had enough."
Yeah.
So little did she know that was probably the right store to go to.
So here we go, the sermon. Thank you. For us, it's fun to play parts of the Moonshine Sonata. Really, it's a different program.
We're going to do one more, right? One of these?
Yes. And so when I wrote this sonata, which is not really a sonata, really is wrong, you know. But when it's about moonshine, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's a sweet, but it's okay. So I thought I need to have the element of somebody having too much of his own produce, right, of his product, you know. So I imagine a man, you know, not finding home, staggering around in the woods with his barefoot in his boots in a creek somewhere, trying to find home. He just looks up, can't find back. And it's called Lost Amongst Trees. And the music should sort of encompass that feeling. So
Didn't one of your granduncles, didn't one of your ancestors froze to death out there?
Yeah.
His great uncle, Jody's great uncle, passed out. Yeah.
but I don't know if he consumed that much. But anyway, this is you should.
Yeah,
He's dead.
yeah. He looks better than us.
So if you feel a little drunk listening to this, it comes gradually. It's intentional. So everything's.
It only happened to me once, you know. I mean, I'm German, and I had to drink when I was a kid, and I quit drinking when I was 18. But then we played at the IBMA, and I was like, I don't know, 42 years old or something like that, and we were in this jam session, and we were jamming for hours and hours and hours, just looking at that bottle. This lady hands me this bottle of nice cold water.
It looked like this.
And I just open it up and just down it. I can't remember how I got back to my room. It was not water, and it was too late. Yeah, I just
But
gave
anyway.
Brenda my guitar and said, "Make sure this gets to my room."
So,
Let's see if I can make it through this song.
all right, here we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We want to end our little portion, and we're going to then play with Jim Lauderdale. A little piece we call Wilkes County Breakdown. Isn't Jonah wonderful? Yeah, we're so proud of him. His granddad. You know, we were Merlefest. When was that? In 2008 or 9 or so. We were at Merlefest, and on Sunday there's always a little get together. You know, right before Merlefest. So we got to meet our friends there. You know, and so all of a sudden, you know, this gentleman comes and says, "Here's my grandson. I want you to meet him." And I say, "Okay." And here's Jonah. He's like, you know, 9 years old. And he's sitting there playing mandolin. You know, he's like a squirrel running around the tree, you know. He's playing so many notes, unbelievable. And he's such a good young man now, and we're so proud of him. He's playing with some of the best, you know. He's going out to Nashville and record, and he does all kinds of stuff. And we're so proud of him, you know, that he's doing such an amazing job, you know, playing mandolin. And of course, I want to thank Joel Landsberg. He's been with us now for 36 years. Joel is an amazing bass player and our best friend in our world. And of course, Jody Call on drums here tonight. We want to thank, of course, before we forget, you know, not that we're going to forget, but we want to thank Cara, you know, for putting this all together. And having us be part of this Moonshine and Motorsports series, you know, because I think it's a great idea. It's great. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You know, seeing all these cars here and everything, it brings a lot of memories. You know, when I first came to America, I stayed with the Shepherd family in Wilkesboro, and Robert Shepherd was my American dad. He showed me the ropes around, you know, and then he showed me around his land, and there was a beautiful old Mustang in the barn, and it had no interior. There was no fabric in there. And he said, "What is that? Well, we can't put this back on the road. It's got 500 horsepower." So then he started, you know, he grew up in the garage right next to his house. You know, his dad had a garage, and they would fix cars up and everything. And you know, we watched NASCAR races. He showed me all the things, and he took me to a race in Martinsville. I never got to see a race here in Charlotte. And but then he took me to the parts swap, you know, when they had a swap here in Charlotte. And I walked up the bank, and that changed my view of this, you know, just to sit here in all these cars. I saw some of these cars with Robert, you know, it really brings back a lot of memories, you know, for this. And I think when we do the Wilkes County Breakdown, it's something that we named for our first experience coming here.
Exactly. All right. Jim. Oh, Jim.
Jim Lauderdale, our host of this evening.
The Kruger Brothers, let's hear it for them.
What do you want to do first?
Let's do a song that I wrote recently that my friend Joe Newberry helped me finish the lyrics. And
Good old Jim.
and this one is about a guy running moonshine, talking to his woman and promising her that he's gonna become a race car driver. And as we say in the music business, we'll stretch it out a little bit before he gets back. He's like, for his capo. But I met the Kruger brothers in a place called Frutigen, Switzerland, around 1994. I
think it was earlier than that because I started playing with them in '89 when I moved there, and I think it was that fall when you came to Frutigen and you were there with Chris Christopherson and who was the singer-songwriter that was on that workshop with us?
Well, I'll tell you, these guys blew me away so much, all I could remember was them and Chris Christopherson and this Writers in the Round thing we were doing, and that was quite a thing. But I told them that day, I said, hey, you guys need to move to the United States. And then...
So it's your fault.
And they haven't been returning my lawyer's letters about getting the 10% for these last several years. But anyway...
Jim, 10% of nothing is still nothing.
But anyway, here is a song called Runnin', Runnin', Runnin'. Too close, I'm letting you out on the side of the road. You won't have a record if you're never found. I don't want you seeing me cuffed on the ground. Don't know why you love me, but I'm glad you do. Won't you believe my running days are through? I was fast, they were faster, they got the inside track. A life of sin never wins, there's no turning back. Running, it can make a body ill. I've got to quit this life now or I never will. I love the driving, that's what I'll do. Join the race, keep the pace and run on home to you. Don't know why you love me, but I'm glad you do. I want you to believe my running days are through. I was fast, they were faster, they got the inside track. Life of sin never wins, there's no turning back. Thank you. All right. Well, here's one that I'm filling in on this song for the son of the great Richard Petty, Kyle Petty. We were planning on him being here tonight, but he couldn't make it, and so we hope to work with him down the line. But this is a brilliant song, I think, by one of my favorite songwriters, Rodney Crowell, and it's about Richard Petty. It's called "Oh, King Richard," and his car is right over there, one of his cars, number 43, that he always drove, so it's really cool to get to see that. So here we go with "Oh, King Richard."
Joel, you count us in.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, King Richard, you run Rummer's dream, the swiftest outlaws I've ever seen. Your checkered flag waving so high in esteem, and no one can catch you at all. So what can you say about the man built for speed? The master mechanic gave you what you need. Survival on instinct and a heart that don't bleed. The winning tradition of a vanishing breed. When I think about a lesser man, much like myself, alive in a vacuum, alone on a shelf, to never go no place till all I got left is staring at these lonely walls. Oh, King Richard, just keep up the pace. Your bow down the gas tank, your smile on your face, and you'll set the standard that time can erase, and God only knows how you feel. If there's life in the fast lane, then you wrote the book, but it don't come as easy as you make it look. Cause a man in his sunshades can't never slow down without someone sneaking around, stealing your crown. From a dirt track in Charlotte to the Daytona line, your life flying by and you don't even mind. The world loves a winner, and you've shown them all how easy the king gets it done. Oh, King Richard, just look out below. Some punk on your bumper, you're running too slow. That one day you're older, the next day you know your races are already run. They'll never get you. I wanna see life through your eyes and watch you drive. Oh, King Richard, they'll never catch you. They'll never catch you, 'cause you can drive like a fiend. All right. King Richard. Guys, let's do Where the Cars Go By Fast.
Okay.
We're right sitting in the middle of them, aren't we?
Here's a song that I wrote with my friend Odie Blackman a little while back. And hey, by the way, and thank you for reminding me the name of the Manor Theater. And when I went to that world premiere, my mom was telling me about it, so I went with her. And there was this band playing in the parking lot then in 1968, and they had longer hair, and they were wearing these granny glasses, these sunglasses. Remember those? And they had Beatle boots on, and I thought that was so cool. And they had paisley shirts on and everything, kind of puffy sleeves. And we all were thinking Elvis was going to be there, but he wasn't there, and neither was Nancy Sinatra. But his co-star, Bill Bixby, was there. And so I saw him walking over to get a drink of water from the water fountain, and nobody else was around, so I kind of snuck up behind him and touched him. And he turned around, and I just stood there, frozen. I was 11 years old. But anyway, that movie, I guess, influenced me in some ways. And here's one called Where the Cars Go By Fast. And by the way, then we're going to get everybody up here for a finale for you.
How fast was that?
Where the cars go by fast, all the way to the house, we would lay in the grass and look up at the clouds. Yeah, the stars disappear where the light seems to last, and time moves slow where the cars go by fast. There's a road all the way where we used to roam. I'm a ghost from the past where the cars go by fast. By fast, never stop long to stay. They're just looking for gas or lost upon the way. I look out of my window at what never was. I'm a ghost from the past where the cars go by fast. More and more down the line, where the cars go by fast, where the cars go by fast, where the cars go by fast, go by fast, go by fast. All right, let's hear it again for the Kruger brothers. Sheila K. Adams, Donna Ray Norton, William Ritter, and Melanie Price. We want to get them back on stage. And also to invite Kara Leinfelder here, who is the mastermind behind this. Let's give her a big hand. We really appreciate you coming out, and everybody here at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Thank you all so much. This is a great place. Well, here's one by Bascom Lamar Lunsford, a fellow that lived in Asheville. And sing along with us on the chorus. And thanks so much again, everybody, for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Way up on the hill, there's an old holler tree. You lay down a dollar or two. Now when you return, you'll find you a jug, good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. And them that refuse it are few. I'll share my money if you fill up that jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Preacher came in with a tear in his eye. He said, my wife had come down with the flu. He said that he ought to give her a snort for that good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. Damn them that refuse it are few. I'll shove my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Sing one.
Well, my Uncle Mort, he was sawed off and short. He stood about 4 feet 2. But he felt like a giant when he took a little pint of that good old Mountain Dew.
They call you that good old Mountain Dew. Well, them that refuse it are few. I'll shove my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain My Auntie Jude, she's got a brand new perfume. Oh, what a sweet smell of you. This last she was surprised when she realized it was nothing that good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. And them that refuse it are few. I'll shove my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Play one more time. That good old Mountain Dew, and them that refuse it are few. I'll shove my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. I'll shove my mug if you fill up that jug with that good old Mountain Dew.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you, and drive safely home. Thank you.